I don't think I sang it very much. It was maybe 3 or 4 takes, but whatever, I just felt really emotional. It's never pleasant to sing and cry.
We begin with the unexpected death of Lisa Marie Presley. Mourners have been leaving flowers at the gates of Graceland, where just this past Sunday, the singer celebrated what would have been her father's 88th birthday.
From the moment Lisa Marie Presley was born, the world watched her like a prophecy waiting to unfold. As the only child of Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, Lisa didn't inherit just a name. She inherited the hopes of millions who wanted to see a continuation of the legend. Her life was scripted by public expectation, yet unscripted in its personal chaos. She was born into music, into fame, into a type of loneliness most of us can't imagine. Even in childhood, she was surrounded by photographers and reporters, never really given the chance to simply be a little girl. When her father died in 1977, Lisa was only 9. That event marked her permanently. In her eyes, Elvis wasn't the icon plastered on posters, he was Dad. And when she lost him, the world celebrated his memory while she mourned in silence. That paradox would come to define her life. Fans wanted her to be a symbol, but all she wanted was peace. Years passed, and Lisa Marie tried to carve her own identity. She found comfort in music, releasing her own albums that, while not chart-topping, sensations like her father's, carried emotional truth and her own grit. But every time she fell, it was public. Every time she loved, it made headlines. And when she died unexpectedly in January 2023, at the age of 54, the shock was profound, not because the public had followed every detail of her later life, but because her story always felt unfinished. There was an ache that something had gone unsaid, some final moment that hadn't yet been revealed. That revelation came in the form of her autopsy report, an official, co-motionless document that somehow still managed to break hearts around the world. The months following her death were filled with speculation. Some suspected heart failure. Others thought it could be stress-related, or even linked to her family's long history of health issues. Lisa Marie had attended the Golden Globes just days before her collapse, walking the red carpet with a somewhat distant gaze and speaking, in a tone that some fans found unsettling. Was she already in distress? Her publicist initially cited a cardiac arrest, but that only deepened the mystery. Lisa Marie had reportedly suffered abdominal pain earlier in the day. She collapsed at her Calabasas home, and by the time paramedics arrived, she was unresponsive. Despite attempts at revival and transport to the hospital, she was pronounced dead soon after. It was a crushing moment for her family, especially her daughter, actress Riley Keough, and her mother Priscilla Presley. As the media speculated, the family grieved privately. Then, months later, the official autopsy report was released by the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. And what it revealed was more tragic than anyone anticipated. Lisa Marie Presley died from a small bowel obstruction caused by prior bariatric surgery, a procedure commonly performed for weight loss. The complication was rare, but devastating. The obstruction had gone undetected until it was too late. There were also traces of therapeutic drugs in her system, including opioids and antipsychotic medications, but none at toxic levels. What the report suggested was not overdose or foul play, was a silent, internal battle that claimed her life. A medical tragedy hiding in plain sight. This cause of death painted Lisa Marie's final months in a different light. It wasn't the excesses of fame or addiction that ended her life. It was a surgical complication, likely related to her pursuit of health and healing. Lisa Marie had, in her final years, been working on herself. She had reportedly lost weight, appeared at events, and tried to maintain a positive public image, despite the endless grief she carried, most notably after the death of her son, Benjamin Keough, in 2020. Benjamin, her only son, died by suicide. At just 27 years old, the loss shattered her. In the years following Benjamin's death, Lisa Marie spoke publicly about her depression and grief, stating that the pain never really left her. She described it as something she had to carry every day. Either she didn't want to live without him, but she stayed for her daughters. Her son's death left a wound so deep that even her music seemed to fade into the background. In a 2022 essay for People magazine, she revealed that grief is in your veins, in your soul, and in your bones.
Wow.
That depth of sorrow weighed heavily on Lisa Marie's health, mentally and physically. She became quieter, more reserved. Friends and family noticed the shift, and yet she still tried to keep moving forward. Her final appearance at the Golden Globes, supporting the biopic Elvis starring Austin Butler, was meant to be a full-circle moment, but it ended up being a farewell that no one recognized in real time. The autopsy report also illuminated the quiet desperation that Lisa Marie may have been enduring in silence. Though the medications in her system were within therapeutic levels, their presence hinted at emotional struggles still being managed behind closed doors. Antipsychotics, anxiety medication, opioids, these are not light prescriptions. They tell a story of someone trying to manage pain that isn't always physical. A story of someone possibly trying to sleep better, to calm the storms in her head, or simply to function through each day. Her battles with substance abuse had gone through periods of addiction, recovery, and relapse. She had written about it, sung about it, and warned others not to go down the same path. Her candor made her relatable to many, but it also made her vulnerable. The public saw her as a cautionary tale, but what they missed was the resilience it took to keep going. After the death of her father, 4 marriages, including to Michael Jackson and Nicolas Cage financial troubles, and the death of her son, Lisa Marie, was still standing. Still performing, still raising her daughters. Her story was not one of failure, but of endurance. That her death came from something so seemingly random, so tragically mundane, is what made it even more heartbreaking. In the weeks after her passing, tributes came from all corners of the world: musicians, actors, former partners, and fans who had followed her for decades. Graceland, her childhood home and Elvis's famous estate, became a place of mourning once again, this time for his daughter. Lisa Marie was laid to rest beside her son, Benjamin, and her father. That image alone, a mother and son reunited. In death is enough to stop any heart. But her legacy is not just where she was buried. It's what she left behind: her music, her writing, her children, and her unwavering connection to Elvis's spirit. She had often said that she could feel him watching over her. He was her anchor in life. In her final album Contributions, and in her unfinished memoir, completed posthumously by her daughter Riley, she spoke candidly about the burden of fame, the loneliness of being Elvis's daughter, and the search for identity in a world that never let her forget whose child she was. Lisa Marie never asked to be a legend's daughter, but she carried that name with a mix of pride, pain, and a quiet defiance. She wanted to be more than her bloodline, and in many ways she was. Her life was messy, flawed, deeply human, and that's why people connected with her today. We remember Lisa Marie Presley not just for her famous lineage, but for her own path, one filled with heartache, love, redemption, and moments of quiet grace. Her story reminds us that no matter how public a life may be, the internal battles remain hidden until it's too late. That behind every headline is a real person trying their best to find peace. Lisa Marie's death was a medical tragedy. Yes, but her life was a testament to survival. A woman who lost her father at 9, struggled with addiction, survived broken marriages, mourned the loss of her son, and still stood on stage to sing. That's not weakness. That's strength. In the end, perhaps that's the detail most heartbreaking of all, not just how she died, but how hard she tried to live. Lisa Marie Presley's later years were filled with a complex mixture of silence, personal withdrawal, and emotional storms. In the quiet countryside of East Sussex, England, she owned a historic family estate, Cozy Manor in Rotherfield, a place far removed from flashing cameras and tabloid whispers. It was here that Lisa Marie sought refuge from the world's constant eyes, a place to raise her daughters and reflect on a life that had often been turbulent. But peace proved temporary. In 2016, she filed for divorce from Michael Lockwood, her 4th husband and longtime musical collaborator, marking the beginning of one of the most painful chapters in her personal life. Just months later, in early 2017, The situation escalated dramatically when Lisa claimed to have discovered disturbing images on Lockwood's computer. These allegations led to a flurry of legal action, and more heartbreakingly, her twin daughters were temporarily placed in the custody of their grandmother, Priscilla Presley. The Beverly Hills police launched an investigation, scanning over 80 electronic devices in search of any criminal evidence. But after months of effort, no crime was confirmed. The case was handed off to authorities in Tennessee, who also found no basis for prosecution. Despite the intense emotional toll and public scrutiny, Lisa Marie stood her ground, and after years of legal tension, their divorce was finalized in May of 2021. This chapter served as yet another reminder of how Lisa's search for love often intersected painfully with betrayal, trauma, and an endless tug-of-war between privacy and public spectacle. But perhaps one of the most emotionally charged controversies of her final years didn't involve a divorce or a personal drama involved her father's legacy. In 2022, acclaimed filmmaker Sofia Coppola announced a new biopic titled Priscilla, based on the life and memoir of Lisa's mother. From the outset, Lisa Marie was deeply disturbed by the project. Having read the script ahead of production, she expressed outrage over the way her father, Elvis Presley, was portrayed. To her, the depiction painted him not as the charming, complex man she knew, but as manipulative, controlling, and even predatory. That version of her father's character struck her as dishonest and offensive, not just to her as a daughter, but to his legacy. What cut even deeper was that Priscilla, her mother, fully supported the film, creating a painful divide within the family. Lisa Marie considered going public with her objections, even if it meant publicly criticizing her mother's project. Her conviction was clear: protecting her father's image mattered more than protecting fragile family harmony. For Lisa, Elvis was not merely a global superstar. He was a loving father whose memory deserved dignity. In the end, Lisa's reaction to the film revealed something deeper than creative disagreement. It showed the fragile emotional balancing act that children of iconic figures must perform, living with the myth of a parent, while holding on to the personal, private truth. In defending Elvis, Lisa wasn't just correcting Hollywood. She was defending her own childhood, her truth, her father's humanity. Behind the emotional weight of family tension was another storm quietly gathering: financial distress. Despite being the heiress to one of the most iconic estates in American history, Lisa Marie's relationship with money was fraught with struggle and mismanagement. In 2018, she reportedly borrowed $3.8 million using Graceland, the hallowed Presley family mansion, as collateral. Fast forward to 2024, after Lisa Marie's death, a mysterious company suddenly emerged, claiming she had defaulted on the loan. They attempted to auction Graceland to reclaim the debt, sending shockwaves through the Presley family and the wider fan base. But Lisa's daughter, Riley Keough, who had inherited the estate, acted swiftly and decisively. She filed a court complaint challenging the legitimacy of the foreclosure attempt, stating that the documents used to initiate the auction were forged. The court responded quickly. A Tennessee judge blocked the auction, and further investigation revealed something astonishing. The company attempting to seize Graceland didn't even legally exist. It was a fabricated entity, a scam attempting to steal one of the most treasured cultural landmarks in American music history. Riley's actions not only preserved Graceland, but also reassured fans that the Presley legacy remained in strong hands. This ordeal, bizarre and tragic in equal parts, underscored just how vulnerable Lisa Marie's estate had become and how deeply her daughter was willing to fight to protect it. During her life, Lisa Marie also shared a long, complicated affiliation with the Church of Scientology. Like many Hollywood figures, she was deeply involved in the organization for decades, attending its events, endorsing its values, and receiving awards for her advocacy. One of the most controversial stances she supported was Scientology's aggressive opposition to psychiatric medication, particularly for children. Lisa Marie publicly echoed these beliefs, speaking out against antidepressants and mental health prescriptions, aligning closely with the church's doctrines. But over time, something shifted. By 2016, Lisa Marie began distancing herself from Scientology, though she never fully disclosed all the reasons. It became clear she no longer agreed with the organization's direction or practices. Her quiet departure from the church marked a profound personal shift, one that reflected her evolving understanding of healing, truth, and autonomy. It was also another example of her willingness to change course when a belief system no longer served her well-being or aligned with her lived experience. Her exit from Scientology was significant because it showed that Lisa Marie, despite growing up in institutions of power and influence, could still challenge them and walk away when necessary. Her strength was never in blind loyalty, but in her unyielding pursuit of personal truth. Lisa Marie's personal life was marked by unimaginable sorrow, much of it unfolding in full public view. After giving birth to her twin daughters in 2008 via cesarean section, she was prescribed painkillers, a medical decision that would become the starting point of a devastating addiction. In her posthumous memoir, From Here to the Great Unknown, Lisa Marie admitted that during the worst periods of her addiction, she was consuming up to 80 pills a day. Her daughter, Riley Keough, who helped complete the memoir after Lisa's passing, revealed that the addiction began innocently as a pain management treatment and gradually escalated into full-blown dependency. Over the years, Lisa Marie underwent multiple hospitalizations and was ordered into rehab by the courts. She would recover, relapse, and recover again. But the emotional blow that likely reignited her downward spiral was the suicide of her beloved son, Benjamin Keough, in July 2020. Benjamin's death shattered her. In her book, Lisa confesses that she kept his body in their home for 2 months, able to say goodbye, unable to process the loss. The guilt haunted her. She blamed herself every single day. Lisa's grief was raw, relentless, and deeply human. Her addiction, grief, and eventual relapse were not symptoms of weakness, but desperate responses to trauma that never healed. And in her courage to write about these experiences, she left behind a roadmap for understanding the weight of loss and the resilience required just to keep going. Although she inherited a fortune, Lisa Marie's finances reflected the volatility of a life under pressure. At the age of 25, she took control of her father's estate, then estimated to be worth around $100 million. But by the time of her death, her net worth had dwindled to an estimated $10 million. Much of the estate had been sold off in 2004. She gave up 85% of Elvis Presley Enterprises in exchange for cash and a promise of future earnings. Court documents later revealed that at one point, she had just $95,000 in the bank and owed nearly $2 million to the IRS, while the Presley name was generating immense revenue. Elvis's estate was worth nearly $1 billion. Lisa Marie herself had become financially vulnerable. Bad investments, legal battles, and personal expenses had drained her wealth over the years. Yet, she clung to Graceland and a sliver of control over her father's legacy. That control, though diminished, still held profound symbolic meaning. Lisa Marie wasn't chasing riches. She was preserving identity. Despite her financial lows, she refused to let go of the house where she grew up, the memories of her father, or the sacredness of her family's story. In the end, her wealth wasn't measured in dollars. It was in survival, motherhood, and memory. Lisa Marie Presley's death on January 12, 2023, brought an era to a quiet, tragic end. She suffered cardiac arrest at her home in Calabasas, California. Paramedics managed to restore her pulse, but she died later that day at West Hills Hospital. She was only 54. The autopsy would later reveal that the true cause of death was a small bowel obstruction, a rare and deadly complication, following a weight loss surgery she had undergone years earlier. It wasn't the drugs in her system that killed her. In fact, the levels of opioids and antipsychotics found were within therapeutic range. Her final days had been marked by an intense desire to lose weight, reportedly preparing for more public appearances. 2 days before her death, she attended the Golden Globes with her mother Priscilla, smiling for cameras and appearing visibly frail. That appearance now feels like a goodbye the world didn't recognize at the time. Lisa Marie's funeral was held at Graceland on January 22, 2023, and streamed online by over 1.5 million people. She was buried next to her son, Benjamin, and near her father, Elvis. Among the mourners were celebrities, friends, and fans. Axl Rose, Billy Corgan, Sarah Ferguson, and Austin Butler, who had portrayed Elvis on screen. Later in 2024, a CBS special, titled The Presleys, Elvis, Lisa Marie, and Riley aired, offering a more intimate look at the family's generational journey in grief. Through it all, her daughter Riley spoke publicly about Lisa's heartbreak in her final years. Describing a mother devastated by Benjamin's death and nearly swallowed by grief, Lisa Marie didn't just die of a medical condition, she died. With a broken heart, Lisa Marie Presley's life wasn't just a tabloid saga or a footnote in Elvis's story. It was a raw, jagged, beautiful struggle for identity, purpose, and peace. She spent her years navigating fame, failed marriages, addiction, motherhood, and mourning, all under the shadow of one of the most iconic names in history. Yet, she never stopped fighting. She wrote, she sang, she loved deeply, and she lived truthfully even when the truth hurt. The revelations from her autopsy only deepened the tragedy, but they also clarified the resilience behind the headlines. Lisa Marie's life was a collision of legacy and loss, of public expectation and private despair. But what she left behind was more than sorrow, it was honesty. She gave us her story, imperfect and unfiltered. Not in doing so, she gave us a better understanding of the human behind the Presley name. If her journey moved you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell for more untold stories from the lives of legends. Let us know in the comments what part of Lisa Marie's life resonated with you most. Thanks for watching.